The story begins with a mythic world video game. A game released 10 years ago as a dating sim targeted at female players, but surprisingly, it ended up attracting a sudden surge of male players. The game features allow players to select from a diverse range of characters, starting with easy-to-play and highly effective ones, to extremely difficult characters that, however, are not effective. And among this forest of characters, there is a discarded character due to being particularly hard to level up, plus extremely poor abilities. Yet, there is a madman who has mastered this character, Baek for 10 relentless years. At this moment, he is twisting his knuckles to warm up. And this is the very person who chose to play that discarded character. On a beautiful day, with fresh and warm air, Baek was sipping a cup of warm tea, eyes fixed unwaveringly on the computer screen. He was reading posts on the game forum. There were many new posts, and it seemed something quite interesting was happening. Just as he clicked on a post, a series of player comments appeared. The game encountered a stupid dragon, suddenly it appeared and wiped out all my game data. How is this possible? It said my character died and can't log in anymore. What the hell is happening? My character was suddenly deleted. Reading this, Baek was quite confused. What kind of final boss is this in a dating sim game? I thought the game would end if the two characters got together. Scrolling down below, he noticed a post that was getting a lot of attention. Everyone, this boss cannot be defeated. This black magic dragon with a razor-sharp horn has an innate magic resistance of 99%, no cooldown, always causing me trouble with its spell absorption skill, and something shooting magic as well. How can I kill it? This must be a game bug. Baek suddenly realized this was a post by a famous trickster. Curious, he put down his teacup and exclaimed, "The final boss is really interesting." At this moment, he propped his chin with his hand, looked at the forum post from other players, and analyzed, "That's strange, a magic-immune monster in a world full of magic. How absurd, definitely a game bug." People were complaining their characters suddenly disappeared without a trace. At the same time, a notification appeared on the screen, "The Black Magic Dragon Dark Knight 13th Moon has appeared." Baek curiously clicked to read the game's storyline again. In the mythical world, there is a cult society called the Black Magic People. Their goal is to help another world called the Persona Gate dominate the world. When they achieve this goal, the Black Magic Dragon will appear, and 90% of the continent will be occupied by the Persona Gate. Reading this, Baek was surprised with his mouth open, exclaiming, "I've only been doing PvP without paying attention to the game's story, but this time it's really chaotic." He felt a bit puzzled, thinking, haven't I been avoiding confrontation with it? Or maybe I should try a little. Thinking and acting, he began moving the mouse to the notification bar state. "Do you want to fight the Dark Magic Dragon? Please select yes or no." Without further thought, he chose yes. "I will showcase the skills I've honed over the past 10 years. Baek said confidently. Briefly about Baek character, he is the only character who cannot use magic. Although in the game, everyone can use magic. But precisely because of that, even experienced players refuse to choose to play as such a useless character like him. Frankly speaking, this character is even weaker than the secondary characters. But of course, he can use a little magic and only has a single spell. Returning to the game, at this moment the Dark Magic Dragon was gathering a huge fireball in its mouth. Immediately after, it opened its mouth wide and spat out the fireball. That force raced toward Baek at an extraordinary speed. Faced with this life-or-death situation, Baek remained quite calm, then curled his lips into a disdainful smile. He immediately used his super-level blink skill to rush forward and slash the dragon's neck, repeating this blink after blink. Baek blink spell allows him to quickly teleport to another location within a range of 3 to 10 meters. However, the blink location is random, so if he doesn't control the distance well, he will die instantly due to the extreme speed and collision force. Moreover, the cooldown time and mana cost are quite ridiculous, plus the 2-second immobilization penalty after using this skill. Therefore, anyone can learn it but no one bothers to use it. However, Baek was in a different league. He mastered Blink, and could also control the direction and distance of the teleportation. Even more miraculous, he knew how to resist the penalty of this skill, without consuming any mana at all, and Baek character didn't have mana stats to begin with. Unlike other spells, Blink was essentially just a movement skill. But Baek Yuseol had become obsessed with this character because everything was based on skill levels. For the past 10 years, he had only played a single character who didn't use magic in combat. At this point, Baek Yuseol surged forward, slashing a long path across the face of the dark demon dragon. Not only that, but he decisively sliced the monster in half. Truly no ordinary feat. Immediately after, he stood proud like a godly figure. A notification appeared: "You have defeated the final boss of the Dark Moon episode." In reality, Baek Yuseol was also surprised, exclaiming, "What? I already killed the Dark Demon Dragon final boss. I know I equipped rare relics from head to toe, but this is still a worthless character. It's truly miraculous, but in any case, it's wonderful. I have to brag on social media that I just killed the Dark Demon Dragon." Before he could even post the article, the computer displayed numerous identical red error notifications because it had reached the 90% error conclusion that the mythical world was destroyed. However, you have come very close to the true ending. Looking at these lines of notifications, Baek Yuseol gasped in amazement and exclaimed, "What is going on here?" Before he could regain his composure, another notification appeared: "Please proceed to the true ending." At this moment, he was utterly panicked, shouting, "What is this?" Then our protagonist mysteriously disappeared right in his own room. Upon opening his eyes, he was struck by the sight of a strange place. Baek Yuseol was now lying flat on the ground. He struggled to sit up, feeling quite dizzy. Puzzled, he raised his hand to cradle his head, lamenting, "What has happened?" His body suddenly trembled violently. Looking around, he exclaimed, "Where am I?" Suddenly, he was drawn to a certain light. Immediately after, he realized it was a mirror. He approached and leaned close to the mirror. What he could not believe at this moment was his current appearance, a very familiar face that had accompanied him for over 10 years, that was Baek Yuseol himself. But before he could understand what was happening, suddenly a notification appeared before him. Episode 1, Escape the Pursuit. Baek Yuseol suddenly realized this was none other than Baek Yuseol's opening mission. Impossible, am I dreaming? At that moment, he touched his pocket and found something, which left him stunned for a few seconds. The first thing pulled out in front of him was the Stella Trainee Enrollment Certificate. At this point, although he didn't want to admit it, Baek Yuseol could already guess where he was. It had to be the world of mythology. So from now on, I'll be Baek Yuseol. Thinking this, he covered his face in utter anguish, but he needed to think more logically. That voice told me to reach the true ending, but from my knowledge, this game doesn't have a real ending, it has countless possible endings. At that moment, his eyes suddenly filled with panic. Wait a minute, could it be that no one has unlocked the true ending in the past 10 years? Damn it, but I don't have time to think about that anymore. If I remember correctly, right after Baek Yuseol woke up, the black demons would chase and storm into the house. Thinking this, he quickly rushed to the window and secretly observed. In front of him was a group of people dressed in identical black clothes. Under the snowfall, they frantically searched for him, shouting loudly, "Damn it, where did that bastard run off to?" Seeing this, Baek Yuseol crouched behind the door. He glanced out furtively, thinking to himself, "This is bad, they've already arrived here." Meanwhile outside, at this moment, a man with white eyes spotted something. He pointed far up ahead and shouted, "Hey guys, there's a house over there, let's go in and search it." After he finished, the whole group responded in unison. Realizing the important problem right in front of him needed immediate handling, but he himself was worried, not knowing what to do now. He recalled that there seemed to be a time limit to avoid them, but alone, he could not fight back. While he was flustered and unsure of what to do, the system suddenly appeared. "You can use Blink." Baek Yuseol was confused. Could he really use Blink? Born with mana leakage syndrome, Baek Yuseol, who could not accumulate mana, could only place his hope on one thing. That was the magic he had spent his whole life practicing. Back to the present, outside the snow kept falling, blanketing the entire forest in white. Inside this old house, Baek Yuseol kept pondering the system's suggestion. But currently, his Blink skill was only at level 1, with a maximum range of 9 meters. At this moment, he was extremely puzzled. How could this damn system tell him to use Blink? He wasn't sitting in front of a computer playing a game with a mouse to blink like that. Outside, the members of the Black Demon cult were running wildly toward the house. The sound of footsteps growing closer made Baek Yuseol even more panicked. Damn it, they're here. I have to act now. There was no more time left. Damn it, I'm going to risk it with you guys. Over there, as they arrived, they discovered something. Their eyes turned furious. One shouted, "Boss, I found that bastard. Chase after him quickly, capture him alive for me. They frantically ran after from behind, mouths wide open, shouting loudly, "Stop, don't let him escape, catch him." Meanwhile, Baek Yuziel was running for his life up front. This was also the first challenge in the Blink tutorial to lose the pursuers. While running, he thought that they were wearing magical shoes, so they ran faster than him. Therefore, the only way for me to escape was to use Blink. Calm down, I've used it countless times before, so of course I have to know how to time it perfectly. At this moment, they had caught up right behind him, shouting, "You brat, why won't you stop?" Glancing back, he suddenly realized, damn it, they've caught up already. But the truth is that Blink has a weakness. If the user can't control the distance well, they will collide with other objects and die instantly. However, if it were me, things would be different. Baek Yuziel thought to himself as he ran. At the same time, the leader of the Black Demon group caught up right behind him. He raised his sword and shouted loudly, "Let me send you to hell, die you dog." At the critical moment hanging by a thread, between life and death, Baek Yuziel used his Blink skill to escape. He suddenly joyfully thought, "Awesome, it worked," leaving the Black Demons group gaping in astonishment. "Hey, what was that? Blink? Is that brat a mage too?" Seeing his foolish teammates lose their composure, the boss immediately turned back to reassure them, "Don't be reckless, Blink has a weakness. The user becomes paralyzed for about 2 seconds, this is our window to act." Saying this, he turned to look toward Baek Yuziel, but was so shocked he couldn't believe his eyes. Wait, how is that kid still able to move? On this side, Baek Yuziel was still running desperately. As he ran, he kept encouraging himself. "Careful, I have to be even more cautious. Come on, I have to use the rough terrain here to escape." If any player can't learn how to use Blink at this moment, the only path is death. In fact, 99% of players who choose Baek Yuziel cannot complete the tutorial portion. Of the remaining 1%, while they manage to get through the tutorial, they fail to grasp how to control the Blink distance and combo blinks. Thinking of this, he frantically blinked repeatedly, moving from one spot to another. This amazed the Black Demon cult greatly. He dares to blink on such terrain. This kid must be crazy. Then, the leader turned back to his comrades and said, "Those who can use magic, step forward, we will attack him from afar." With that, 3 of them stood up at the front, faces fierce and filled with murderous intent. Noticing they were no longer pursuing from behind, Baek Yuziel glanced back, a new worry forming in his mind. It's over, are they planning to use magic? And the second part of the main guide is using Blink to dodge magic arrows. Damn it, when playing games I can see what's behind through the screen, so it's not difficult to dodge those hits. Suddenly, the system displayed a notification. The Mana Leak Syndrome skill was activated. Mana Leak Syndrome disabled, 6th Sense skill and Accelerated Perception activated. As soon as he received the notice, Baek Yuziel suddenly sensed the approaching magic arrows, even though he didn't need to look back. And in that way, he was able to easily dodge these magic arrows. At the same time, a massive cursed arrow shot rapidly toward him. Baek Yuziel suddenly realized this was the moment to use the final Blink skill. He was lucky to escape this critical attack. A deafening explosion rang out, like a meteor crashing to the earth. The pressure was so intense that Baek Yuziel couldn't stand and had to sit down, bracing himself with his hand. At this point, the smoke from the explosion began to clear, but what remained was a huge crater. Only then did Baek Yuziel recover his senses and think, "That was crazy, I almost died. But now is not the time to rest." And then he immediately started running again. Suddenly, his eyes became filled with terror. Right before him was a deep abyss. One wrong step meant sure death by falling down to meet his ancestors. And this is also the third challenge of the Blink guide part, to cross the abyss. He suddenly thought that perhaps the only way to get to the other side was to precisely time the Blink distance. Then he would encounter some mages passing by and escape. That also marks the end of the tutorial section. But to get through this part, he had to cancel the Blink spell, which activates within 0.1 seconds. Failing even once meant death. There were about 2 floating rocks here. Damn it, having only 0.1 seconds really is easier said than done. It's really unclear which bastard wrote the script for this tutorial, that guy must be insane. However, this task is not impossible. The problem lies in the details. Thinking this, suddenly the voices of the dark cult shouted, "There it is, right in front of us." At the same time, those people had caught up here. Baek Yuziel was startled, turned his face back, thinking the pursuers were closer than he thought. The distance between him and them was probably about 100 meters, while the blink spell cooldown was 3 seconds. So he didn't have enough time to blink to the other end, leaving him with only one option, to kill them all. Then, Baek Yuziel sat down, hiding behind a tree trunk to plan his fight. He suddenly thought, this is crazy, why did he dare think he could manage this right after finishing a battle? If this were a game, the system wouldn't allow these tailing enemies to appear continuously. But this is reality, there are no rules forcing him to blindly obey the game system. Killing someone is not even worth your concern. The reason is not because these guys are enemies of my parents like in the game storyline. They finally arrived. Baek Yuziel firmly gripped his sword, ready to defend. His face lit up with determination. Come on, you guys come here, I'll take you all on. And just moments later, they caught up to his position. The leader still seemed quite resentful, his face red with anger, shouting out, "It was this brat about to be caught, hurry up and grab that kid for me." Finishing his words, the whole group shouted clearly then charged fiercely. Each one looked quite furious. On this side, Baek Yuziel still remained calm, not a bit shaken. One of the black demon men sneered, seeing the kid's skill was quite good. "You dare to fight us alone? That's truly foolish. You're done for, brat." But Baek Yuziel stayed highly focused, observing carefully to make accurate judgments. He suddenly realized the distance to his target was about 8.7 meters. Right after, he displayed his blink ability, dashing swiftly toward the man in black. The man in black hadn't even grasped what was happening before he was probably about to die. The leader standing beside him widened his eyes in astonishment. But Baek Yuziel's face now glowed with unshakable determination. His speed was too fast, too dangerous, causing the man in black to spit out a large mouthful of blood, which shot straight onto Baek Yuziel's body. Seeing fresh blood lightly dripping from his fingertips, but at this moment he felt no sense of guilt at all. If they don't die, then I will be the one who dies. I have to kill them all to survive. Thinking this, he struck him with a strong blow, then frantically kicked once more to vent his anger. It looked light, but that guy was flung back toward the group of black demons. This made them even more furious. On this side, after taking down one of them, Baek Yuziel immediately fled. Perhaps his blink needed time to recharge, so he couldn't risk everything at this moment. The black demons suddenly realized he was running away, grew even more enraged, shouting like mad, "Damn it, he's running." At all costs, they could not let him escape. Baek Yuziel ran while thinking, I just took down one, but next time won't be so easy. What should I do? He suddenly noticed how quiet it was behind him. Were they no longer chasing him? Just as he thought that, the group was suddenly standing right in front of him without him realizing when. There was no more time to run now. He thought, could it be they were using magic again? If only I could evade these bastards. On the other side, the leader of the black demons opened his mouth and ordered his underlings, do it. Right after the command, a strange magic appeared, heading straight toward Baek Yuziel's position. He saw a huge spark shooting at him. Baek Yuziel was extremely tense at this moment. Not only one spark, but many missiles hurtled straight at him. In this situation, he didn't yet know how to escape, only angrily cursing silently in his heart, damn that damned spell. But then he shouted, ah, right, I have a way. Right in front of him now appeared a branch growing out of a crack in the rock. In a desperate situation hanging by a thread, he used the blink skill and dashed quickly toward that branch. And then a huge explosion occurred immediately afterward, boom boom boom. The explosion created a large hole, with dust flying thick all around. On this side, one of the dark demons looked quite pleased, smirking, serves that brat right. But before he could celebrate for long, he suddenly realized that the hole in front of him had no corpse at all. He mumbled in surprise, where did he go? While he was still confused, Baek Yuziel had not only escaped their magic but also used blink, rushing swiftly toward the boss. Only when he suddenly realized it, was Baek Yuziel already right in front of his face. The two stared at each other like that. The blink secret technique requires the same momentum before and after use. Without hesitation, he blinked again, dashed forward, and struck him with a fierce blow. At this point, only the sound of desperate screams echoed far away. Witnessing this, the entire group of dark demons was utterly shocked. What is happening? Not stopping there, Baek Yuziel pressed the sword deeper through this guy's body, causing him to cough up blood and die instantly. Even now, they still didn't understand where this brat got such powerful magic, or why he had become so brutal. After dealing with the two, Baek Yuziel was exhausted, his whole body smeared with blood. He thought to himself, now that I have taken down these two, but I have to hurry before they recover. The scar-faced guy spoke up, this freak, his reaction speed is incredibly strange for a mage. Who the hell are you? After hearing that, Baek Yuziel thought to himself, my reaction speed must be superior to all the other players. But that's only in the game. Here, I can't keep dodging their attacks forever, especially at this close range. I have to take them all out quickly. Thinking this, he recklessly charged in to attack. The scar-faced guy who had been observing until then exclaimed, I recognized your movement style. This kid only uses blink and a dagger. I just need to defend my face and neck. He can't touch me there. He held his defensive sword tightly with a provocative attitude. Come on, come here. Then he shouted loudly, Ice Tide. On this side, Baek Yuziel was still showcasing his excellent blink skills, while the scar-faced guy unleashed a powerful force directed at him. He was quite confident in his combat ability, thinking, I'm about to catch you, now let's see how you writhe in pain. But before he could gloat for long, he was utterly shocked. Baek Yuziel was not only unharmed but also quickly rushed toward his companion, instantly beheading him. Witnessing this, the scar-faced guy's hair stood on end, and he trembled as he exclaimed, damn it. Before, you only knew how to hide like a rat, but now you dare to fight back. Baek Yuziel was covered in fresh blood all over his body and replied coldly, yes, but that was the old me. Anyway, I have to thank you all for helping me become stronger day by day. After hearing that, the scar-faced guy retorted bitterly, you son of a bitch, that's only because we went easy on you, now die. With that, Baek Yuziel took strong, determined steps forward. His face was full of murderous intent, looking extremely fierce. Then he quickly hurled his spear toward him. Seeing the spear advancing, the scar-faced guy guessed in his heart, blink targeting an undefended spot, surely he plans to throw the spear for me to block and then ambush from behind. Dream on, honey, no chance. Thinking this, the spear came close to his face. This guy simply lifted his sword gently, cutting the spear in half. He smiled smugly, thinking now all he had to do was turn around and hit him once to finish it. But it seemed his judgment was wrong. Suddenly, he froze in place, weakly uttering, Then he gritted his teeth, his face twisted in an incomprehensible pain. At this moment, Baek Yuziel did not attack from behind as he had guessed, but struck directly in front. He used all his strength to pierce through his heart amid his surprise. The scar-faced guy still refused to accept defeat, weakly shouting, did he intend to attack from the front all along? Thus, episode 1 of Escaping the Chase was completed. After killing them all, the system displayed a notification, you have gained additional experience, and received a bonus gift from the Constellation project for developing a unique story. Baek Yuziel looked quite exhausted at this moment, slumped over, his breathing becoming rapid and erratic, gasping. He glanced down at his blood-stained hand, then quickly looked around. Like many other transmigrated characters, at first they just considered it a dream. Baek Yuziel recalled the moment of fighting to survive here just now, that was his first blink in this world, and also his first battle. Moreover, it was his first kill. The truth was that he had killed a human to survive. After a while, Baek Yuziel slowly stood up. He raised his hand to brush the dust off his clothes, stood looking at the road ahead, telling himself that since he had transmigrated here, he needed to leave this place quickly. Suddenly, a thought flashed in his mind. He turned to look back at the group of people he had taken down. At this moment, he was still quite hesitant, his eyes carrying a hint of melancholy. But then he bent down to quickly search their pant and shirt pockets, inspecting and pondering. Although this might be somewhat cowardly, he had to be practical. Currently, he didn't have a single penny on him. After a moment of searching, he finally found a pouch of gleaming gold coins. He inwardly rejoiced, wondering if it was about 200 million or more, finding some luck in this misfortune. Done, but before he could celebrate for long, he shifted his worries to another issue. He turned his face toward the road ahead, feeling discouraged. In front was a deep, sheer cliff. If he slipped down there by misfortune, it would definitely mean death. Standing on the edge between life and death, Baek Yuziel anxiously wondered how he could cross this cliff. Suddenly, a loud call came from the other side of the cliff. Is anyone there? He immediately looked up and saw a group of people standing opposite. Baek quickly waved, calling back, "Hey, this way, I'm over here." He realized that this group was the team of mages who appeared in the guide section. Right after that, he shouted like crazy, "I'm here, I'm here." Someone on the other side replied, "But there's no bridge nearby, are you sure you can cross?" Baek answered, "Is that so? I'm on my way." Upon receiving his signal, the girl turned to tell the others, "Then let's wait for him a moment, he said he can cross." The young man with blue hair standing beside her voiced his doubts. "Crossing this cliff is no simple matter, he'd have to be at least a third-rank knight to manage it, but can that young guy really do it?" The girl replied, I'm not sure either." As she spoke, her eyes suddenly widened in surprise. He was leaping lightly and skillfully from one rock to another. Everyone gaped at this scene, each person watching tensely. At this moment, Baek was fully concentrated, striving to overcome each segment one at a time. As fast as a lightning bolt, he had crossed half the episode. The whole group stood watching this scene, unable to believe their eyes, exclaiming, "What kind of move is this? Some kind of blink magic?" One person replied, "That is definitely blink." That voice came from a little girl with green hair standing behind. The little girl looked quite pretty and adorable from the outside. The purple-haired girl turned her face to look at the little girl and then towards Baek, confused, saying, "Is that really blink? But blink can't be so easily controlled for direction and distance like that. This is quite impossible, he looks gentle and proficient." Outsiders would see it that way, but Baek was struggling. Suddenly the purple-haired girl saw something, panicked with wide eyes, stammering, "Who are those two people? Are they accompanying this young man?" At this moment, on the other side, two men dressed in black were approaching the cliff. Here, everyone was still confused. When one of the men over there began to use a magic staff to create an orange power radiating around, then he aimed his hand straight forward, forming a sinister formation, and hurled it straight at Baek. Suddenly a shout rang out, "Hey, be careful behind you." At that moment, Baek also sensed a terrifying power rushing straight toward him, silently cursing, "Damn it." Just as it rushed close, he used blink magic, moving elsewhere, luckily escaping with his life, only to hear a loud explosion behind him. Bang bang, bang bang, he turned his face around to see who was ambushing him. The dust from the explosion cleared, and the shapes of two men in black lurked into view. He suddenly thought, so it was the mercenaries from before, they had revived, really dangerous indeed. The blink countdown had 3 seconds left, avoiding all those spells was impossible. "I have to find another floating rock to stand on." Thinking this, his eyes suddenly grew panicked. What was that? It turned out the dark mages would not let him escape easily. They immediately activated another spell and fired it straight at him. Fortunately, Baek managed to lean to one side to dodge that force. But perhaps the real difficulty was only just beginning. Suddenly, the rock under his feet cracked into 2 pieces. He tried to hold his ground, but it seemed impossible. Immediately after, he fell backward. But he did not feel discouraged. He was still struggling between life and death. He told himself he had to live, must live, but life seemed like a dream. All the floating rocks were too far from where he fell. Even with just a glimmer of hope, he only wished to land on one of them. Then his eyes brightened as he saw a nearby rock. Perhaps luck and heaven still did not want to take his life. He used blink magic to dart towards that rock, and luckily, he managed to grab hold of it. At that moment, he clung tightly to the rock, glanced back, and exclaimed, "Have I really survived?" Before he could recover, a terrifying orange power came rushing at him from behind. Baek suddenly thought that he might die here. But when it had rushed right at his feet, when he was in despair, convinced that he was going to die, suddenly a blue power surged forward. Immediately after, 2 forces collided, creating a huge explosion. Boom boom boom. Its overwhelming pressure radiated intensely. He struggled to hold on tightly. And then after the rain, the sky cleared. Only the dust from the explosion remained around. He was still alive, thinking, how could the protagonist die so quickly? He was stunned and wondered, what was that magic just now? Ice wounds wrapped in lightning. Who could combine 2 skills into one attack like that? And even more impressive was the calculation of the bullet's trajectory accuracy, without wasting any mana. Who could perform such a perfect strike? Far away, the crowd was staring intently at the green-haired girl standing in the middle. Her face showed no change in expression, extremely cold. Everyone who saw this scene was shocked pale. One confused person spoke up, saying it's impossible. Could she really do something so extraordinary? Meanwhile, the two mercenaries at the other end, realizing they were still far behind, wisely turned their backs and retreated. Baek Yuziel watched their backs disappear into the distance, breathing a sigh of relief. Thank heavens, I'm still alive. After a while, he was able to reach this side, and everyone warmly welcomed him. Only the green-haired girl didn't bother to care and turned her back to walk away. Seeing that, Baek Yuziel ran over, thanking profusely, "Hey you, thank you so much for stepping in to save me just now." The girl glanced back coldly and replied, "I didn't do that to receive any thanks, so you don't need to pay attention or thank me." With that, she turned and walked away. Baek Yuziel felt a bit let down and responded, okay then." He watched her retreating figure, thinking to himself that this girl was really interesting. He had never heard such an adorable voice before. Although it seemed she was quite hard to approach. After all, they were thieves. They had ravaged and plundered the villagers. They deserved what they got. The truth is, most of such activities were carried out by the dark magic cult. But fortunately, that ends here. I just went through the most critical moment of my life, and after climbing over this cliff, I have set foot in the territory of mages. Here, the dark magic cult people won't be able to follow me anymore. Thinking this, he sighed, and those dogs still don't even know who I am. Suddenly, the system displayed a message. Episode 2, Admission into Stella Academy. Looking at the system board, he exclaimed in surprise, "This is episode 2. Well, that actually sounds not too bad. But damn it, how am I going to go to school at this age?" Then the whole group got on the vehicle to move to Stella Academy. By this time, it was already night. The place they were passing through seemed quite deserted and quiet, with only the clattering sound of horse-drawn carriage wheels heard. Inside the carriage, Baek Yuziel appeared tired, sleeping deeply. Suddenly he made strange sounds. He was in a trance, drifting into a dream. Images from the past suddenly appeared, a rather cute little boy grabbing his mother's shirt excitedly calling, "Mom, Mom." The mother smiled kindly and replied, "My dear son, when you grow up you will become a mage. I believe you can do it, my good Yuziel." But according to the diary his mother kept, it seemed his parents struggled greatly to raise him. At that time, he promised himself to study hard to make his parents happy. Whenever he studied late into the night and fell asleep on the desk, his mother would gently cover him with a blanket. But then one day, after hearing the doctor speak, his mother was extremely worried. "Doctor, you just said that my son has the mana leak syndrome." He himself was devastated, unwilling to accept it. "No, it can't be." The boy spoke as tears streamed down his face. But was this Baek Yuziel's memory, or was it his own memory? Thinking of this, Baek Yuziel suddenly jerked awake. He felt quite dizzy, raised his hand to hold his head. He looked outside through the window frame. Now it was morning, the sun was peaking up high. Someone accompanying him in the carriage saw that he was awake and hastily said, "Ah, you're awake. It seems you just had a nightmare. You kept saying things I couldn't understand. I was about to wake you up then." At the same time, someone outside spoke up, "We will depart for Lazoica, the satellite city of Arcanium, very soon." The vehicle gradually stopped, and another voice spoke. "Let's take a short break here." The whole group quickly got off the vehicle to relax. Baek Yuziel, feeling quite sore, stretched high. Then suddenly he was a bit surprised, his eyes wide open as he looked. Coincidentally, the blue-haired girl was staring in his direction. At that moment, he intended to raise his hand to greet casually, but before he could utter a word, she turned her face and walked away. This made him feel a little embarrassed. He forced a smile. This person is really cold, but everything was going quite well. Considering how worried he had been, he was glad that the timeline here was closer to modern times than to the Middle Ages. Magic exists in the mythical world, but in safe cities, trains, airplanes, and celestial roads are constructed to facilitate long-distance travel. They would reach Lazoica by an extremely modern airship. Lazoica lies on the route to Arcanium. In Arcanium, the city of magic, everything truly begins. The magical towers, the Mage Conference, and the 5 prestigious academies are all located in Arcanium. The academy with the most powerful mages and the most outstanding students currently attending is the Stella Academy. Therefore, Stella is filled with geniuses and nobles from all over this world. But Baek Yuziel still couldn't understand why the Baek Yuziel character he transmigrated into could study at this prestigious school. He forgot that he hadn't checked his own skills yet. Thinking of this, he hurriedly opened his system to check. Immediately after, the status board appeared. Mana Leakage Syndrome Level 1, Strength increased by 3%, Speed increased by 5%, Agility increased by 10%. Sixth Sense, consumes the user's spirit energy to activate mana scouting within a 12-meter radius and activates detection. Automatically triggers when danger is detected. Looking at the status board, he silently thanked the skills that Baek Yuziel possessed. Sixth Sense and Quick Scouting, without these two, he probably would have died in this game already. A cursed force unable to concentrate mana in the body. Mana Leakage Syndrome is a congenital curse that Baek Yuziel suffers from. However, this allows him to detect mana around through his sixth sense. It also helps him detect any attacks directed at him, even if he isn't looking in that direction. Detection allows him to perceive everything as if time has slowed down. If there is a threat or an attack ahead, he reacts faster than a normal human could detect. That is a necessary skill for Baek Yuziel because he cannot use mana. But everything has two sides. Using the sixth sense for too long consumes a lot of mental energy, and overuse can cause many unwanted consequences afterward. Reading up to this point, Baek Yuziel swiped to the statistics section. 1-star power status 59%, 1-star sharpness 97%, 1-star speed 81%, stable stamina 1-star 51%, unyielding no-star 97%, mental energy 1-star 43%, no mana left, blink skill level 0, mana leakage syndrome characteristic level 1. After checking the information, he suddenly thought that the starting stats weren't actually that bad. Yuziel originally had very low sharpness, but in his hands, it would be different. He had to push this through no matter what. In this game world, there is not only one type of level but also levels for each attribute, skills displayed as levels, and stats as stars. The maximum attribute level is 9 stars, but that is almost impossible to reach. I've played this game for over 10 years, but the highest level I achieved was 8 stars in both stable stamina and sharpness. I should focus on investing in sharpness now to enhance my sixth sense and reaction speed. I can improve stable stamina and agility through various other methods. After all, the problem now is the mana leakage syndrome. If I don't train this, I won't survive long. I need to upgrade it quickly to reach the secret of the true body. Stella Academy is the way to suppress that syndrome. I have no other choice if I want to prevent the end of this world and cure my chronic illness. Thinking of this, Baek Yuziel let out a helpless sigh. Phew, honestly, I don't want to go there myself. Someone please save me from this situation. Suddenly, the system chimed, "You have missed some notifications." He exclaimed in surprise, "Oh, I've never looked at this before." But before he could check it, an urging voice rang out, "Hey, you young people, let's go quickly." Baek Yuziel had to set those notifications aside to check later. The girl with blue hair was still watching him closely at this moment, but she remained cold and silent. In front of them was a flying ship hovering in the air, enormous and modern. On the ship, everyone seemed quite excited and expectant. Suddenly, an announcement came through the speaker, "Attention please, we are approaching Arcanium. Passengers are requested to remain seated." At that moment, someone noticed something and was quite astonished. Immediately afterward, he sneered mockingly, "Hey, you guys, look at that guy glancing around like a child. Has he never been on a flying ship before? Ha ha." Judging by their looks, the person they were talking about was Baek Yuziel. At that moment, he was looking around. Everything here was unfamiliar to him. They kept chatting. "That guy must be a country bumpkin who just arrived, looks like some naive guy in the city, huh? Ugh, I don't understand why Stella lets these trashy types into the academy." Up to this point, Baek Yuziel also heard those whispers about himself. He glanced over at them. They hadn't stopped yet, they continued to despise him, saying this news would spread everywhere. A few guys like him were enough to taint everything. He kept looking at them, but then he didn't bother with their mockery. He just sighed and turned away. His reaction caught that guy by surprise. Baek Yuziel thought to himself, "They're just immature kids, I'm an adult, I won't stoop to their level." His indifferent attitude deeply embarrassed that spoiled rich kid, who shouted, "Hey, kid, how dare you look at us like that? Are you asking for trouble? He frowned and clenched his teeth as he continued. You little bastard, you better stand right there for me. Then, a gentle voice sounded, hey, what the hell are you guys making so much noise about? He jumped in surprise and turned to look toward the voice's direction. His eyes widened in astonishment. In the distance, the silhouette of a girl with long hair appeared. Then he trembled and exclaimed, Princess Bayan. Baek Yuziel also turned to look, pondering, was he really saying Bayan? From his gaze, in front of everyone stood a princess with an incredibly beautiful appearance, a cold, proud aura. This was the princess of the Adalabit kingdom, Hong Bayan. She said nothing more, she just coldly walked past the group. Seeing the princess walk past where he stood, the spoiled rich kid smiled warmly, placed his hand on his chest, and greeted politely, Your Highness. Before he could say anything more, the princess cast a cold, icy glance at him, then ignored him and walked away. This left him feeling quite embarrassed, mouth agape without a word. She proceeded coldly further inside, leaving the whole group staring at each other in stunned disappointment. On this side, she had brushed past Baek Yuziel. He suddenly realized she was the enemy of this world, according to the original storyline. Bayan is a main character in the game. She and the female lead are always at odds, but in the end, it's Bayan who dies. No matter which path is chosen, she still meets a tragic death in most endings, or must commit suicide due to being bullied by the entire academy. She endures the most shameful experiences in front of everyone, as if the developer resents her and wants her to suffer everything. At that moment, he grew quiet, recalling he had heard that she was very famous among players. Indeed, she was very beautiful but too cold, as if she would kill him if he dared to start a conversation. Suddenly, his stomach rumbled, he reached up to rub it. The immediate problem was to fill that empty stomach first. As soon as he stepped onto the second floor, at some stall, he saw quite a variety of sparkling pastries. He randomly picked one, but as soon as he held it, his face paled, thinking, oh, why is this so expensive? Nevertheless, he shrugged and ate to fill his stomach first. After eating, Baek Yuziel stepped out, stunned like someone who'd lost his ration book. He thought bitterly, damn it, is it always like this whenever I eat at Arcanium? It's broken, it's broken. At this moment, the announcement speaker sounded again, informing everyone, we will arrive at Arcanium in 10 minutes. Please all proceed to the ground floor. Repeating, we will arrive at Arcanium in 10 minutes. Please all proceed to the ground floor, thank you sincerely for your attention. After hearing this, Baek Yuziel smiled and thought, finally it's starting, after all, this is now his reality. Thinking this, he excitedly exclaimed, let's get started. After a while, the group arrived at Stella Academy. Looking at the unfamiliar crowd here, Baek Yuziel felt quite out of place. He took a deep breath, thankfully, he had solved the immediate problem. The people from the Dark Demon sect could no longer track him, but could he survive in this place? Surviving in this world is not at all easy. He wished for something useful in this situation. Thinking of that, he suddenly realized he hadn't read the system notifications from before. He opened the system to check. The notification read as follows, the Stellar Project grants you a special reward. Choices: 1. A weapon you used in the game at a lower level, 2. A skill you acquired in the game with less power, 3. Experience. Looking at the status line, he pondered thoughtfully, oh, it seems this system has a bit of ethics after all, but let's see, what should I choose? Should I choose the 2 flashlight reflective? As if reading Baek Yuziel's thoughts, the system immediately replied that according to the search results, the ranking of such equipment is too high, so it will be downgraded. You continue to ask, what about the Super Blink? The system responds that according to the search results, this skill is an upgraded version of Blink, so it cannot be obtained, however, you can use rewards to enhance the Blink skill. After reading this, you stand stunned, silently cursing, that damn system, do you really have to downgrade it? Seeing you complain, the system immediately explains that due to a lack of narrative energy, we cannot fully materialize it. Huh, what's that? You look puzzled. The system continues, the force that affects the course of the story is called narrative energy. If you continue to explore hidden episodes, it will accumulate. Therefore, in the short term, you cannot possess items that are too powerful, because you are just a novice. You anxiously wait for the next response but see no further display from the system. You ask again, what about the crest goggles? The system replies that based on the results, we conclude that it can be provided. Then let's take it. Having said that, the system immediately throws you the Crest goggles. He held the glasses in his hand, looked them over with discouragement, thinking he never imagined a day would come when he'd actually have to wear this damn thing. Note, that the Crest glasses are items that contain all the information players have gathered while playing the game in the mythical world. Players can't recall or read information about the monsters they've hunted or knowledge they've acquired themselves, so they developed countless information storage items in their own ways. Baek Yuziel was no exception. He used the Crest glasses to store information. Excited, he put on the glasses to check. A source of blue light radiated from them. Then a message appeared. Crest glasses with no description level, unable to recall last night's dinner, no matter, because these glasses keep detailed records of everything you have seen and learned. Special feature, sealed Crest directory, activated using mental energy. He opened another directory to look. The system displayed a message again. Ingredients for alchemy, hunting grounds, dungeons, characters. Up to this point, he felt quite satisfied. This place is exactly like the real world, so I honestly don't know what to say about what I can do using the system. But with these glasses, I can recover about half of the energy I've previously used. Suddenly, there was murmuring behind him, "Hey, isn't that Acel? Oh, you mean the eldest daughter of the traitor Dutch Malf? Oh, how dare she show up here, TSK, keep your voice down, she'll hear you." Hearing a familiar name in the story, Baek Yuziel was curious. Acel, huh? Now that you mention it, one of the skills of the Crown's View allows me to register or check information about characters in the plot. Let me see what she's like. Immediately, an information panel appeared. Name, Acel Malf. Description, a fake hero, an ice/lightning mage, who likes drinking pickle juice before eating pizza. The eldest daughter of Dutch Malf, her father's death led to the decline of their house, with the outcome that she will die. After reading, Baek Yuziel thought silently, oh, so it turns out she is a fake hero. To talk about Acel, a fake hero has one thing I have to point out. Although the world I'm in is the mythological world inside a game, the truth is that this world is based on a romance novel called Don't Love the Princess. That novel tells the story of the heroine Acel. She lost all her loved ones, grew up by confronting the villain Bayan's conspiracies. The ending is that she is happy with the male lead. Her revenge plan nearly disappears and the other male characters protect her, but it has a sad ending after receiving much mixed reaction from readers. The issue here is that although the game's world is based on the novel, the plot is different. In the game, a character named Flame was added, replacing the role of the female hero. Moreover, Flame has her own storyline. She used to be a woman living an ordinary life in the modern world, who enjoyed reading the novel, Don't Love the Princess, and was reincarnated here. So, unlike in the novel, Acel became the fake female hero in the game, while Flame became the true hero. No matter how much players try, Acel cannot survive in any storyline. This is the result of her being pushed out of the true hero position. But that has nothing to do with me. However, I don't know if I'm imagining things. I have a feeling I've seen her somewhere before. It's probably just my imagination. Now is the time for me to face this truth. After a long and stormy day, a new day dawned. Rays of dazzling sunlight shone across Stella Academy. Inside, the students had changed into their uniforms, standing neatly in line to listen to the speech. At this moment, the principal spoke. As you all know, the dark mages are witches, those who have gained power from other worlds and transformed into monsters. Currently, they continue their invasion by opening persona gates or releasing ancient dungeons to conquer the magical world. Our responsibility as mages is to protect the world from evil forces. At this, murmurs suddenly rose from below. Starting a new episode with this lame speech? Indeed, it's really dull. At the same time, the speech continued to echo, and right after this, we will attend the oath-taking ceremony for the 4 students with the highest scores, who also represent the new students. Come on, please come up here. Immediately, the exemplary faces stepped up one after another. They were all handsome young men and beautiful young women with radiant faces. Looking at them, Baek Yuziel silently thought they were all shining faces, as if they were the main characters themselves. But who is the one shining the brightest here? That's right, it's him. The principal's voice rang out. Representing all the new students present here, Hua Yuziang, please come up to speak. At this moment, The girls below looked on with sighs and admiration. Wow, he has the highest entrance score, and on top of that, he's both talented and handsome. Baek Yuzio looked after him and had to admit, so this is the famous Ma Yuziang. Note, in the game, Ma Yuziang is a perfect embodiment of the saying, above heaven and earth, only I am supreme, with a mana rating of 9 stars and potential close to the gods. He is a genius among geniuses capable of controlling all elements in the world. Even if I can't endure until the final outcome, I must avoid bad endings by bringing Ma Yuziang over to the side of good. However, that cute short-haired girl is probably Flame. Baek Yuzio began to immerse herself in reasoning, but it still depends on how she will act from now on. Since she is also someone who time-traveled here like me, accompanying her might be a good idea, but would things be more complicated if she considers me an enemy and rejects me? Anyway, I have an advantage in information, so I shouldn't ruin anything. Flame is a reader of romantic fantasy novels, while I am a player in this fantasy game. I swear to do so, even though my role in the plot isn't comparable to even a tiny villain in a shop. Moreover, the heroine Flame has a special ability to purify dark demons, but alongside that, she also has the power to bring misfortune to those close to her. Being near her will certainly affect me. My role is to support the main characters from afar, and to limit my involvement with them as much as possible. Thinking of that, Ma Yuziang's inaugural speech was finished. Below, everyone applauded enthusiastically. The principal's voice rang out, so I hereby declare that we will close today's entrance ceremony here. Immediately after attending the entrance ceremony, Baek Yuzio's system notified her, congratulations on completing episode 2 by joining Stella Academy. After the opening ceremony ended, all the students gathered in a lecture hall somewhere, each choosing a seat freely. Baek Yuzio looked quite sad at this moment, thinking to himself that he had graduated from university long ago, yet now he suddenly became a high school student. The feeling was so strange and unfamiliar. But then he comforted himself, saying that after all, there was something quite wonderful here. He held the watch in his hand, pondering that it was that, having this was really good. This was the Stella watch, proof that you are a student of the most prestigious Stella Academy. If you own it, you will receive privileges and better services than other mages. Thinking of this, he happily stored the watch safely in his pants pocket, telling himself, I must quickly make use of this opportunity. At that moment, someone opened the door and entered. A man with a cold face walked in, stepped onto the podium and said, requiring all of you to stay seated in class, we will start the test right now. Except for writing tools, put away all other items. If anyone wears glasses, they must be checked by me first. Baek Yuzio thought with annoyance, just finished the opening ceremony and already testing. The curriculum at Stella Academy is harsher than most universities in South Korea. Students have to take a test on the very first day. This is a placement test, through which they evaluate and assign classes for the students. When the exam papers were distributed to everyone, the teacher returned to the podium and spoke loudly, everyone pay attention, we have 45 minutes to complete the test, time starts now, please focus. For someone who has studied this program for a long time like Baek Yuzio, who exchanged answers with the teacher and the teacher answered back, seeing the exam paper made him dread it. His face drenched in sweat, thinking, damn it, I don't even understand the reading, how am I supposed to do this, it's really tough. The hierarchical test has nothing to do with the entrance exam, it is notorious for its terrifying difficulty. Students are divided from grade F to A and grade S based on their scores. Of course, most of the players are in grade S. In contrast, Baek Yuzio ranked last among the 1141 students. Looking at the test, he hesitated, maybe I should just submit a blank paper, since I was already admitted, probably won't be expelled. Just consider myself volunteering to be placed in grade F. He glanced around. At this time, everyone seemed quite focused on the test. Only Ma Yuziang was sitting idly, propping his hand on his chin, lost in thought. Baek Yuzio looked back at himself with some disappointment. Oh, he's already sitting idly. Could it be that he's already finished? No wonder he looks so disheartened. In this game, Ma Yuziang's personality is one of despair. He was born into the strongest family on the continent, possessing a genius intellect and top-tier talent. Everything was easy for him, depending on the actions of the female lead, Ma Yuziang would side with either good or evil. All the villains of the dark demon cult who want to exterminate humanity are extremely interested in him. But from the start, the biggest problem was his family. Watching such a genius only made me have to reevaluate myself. Suddenly he realized, wait a minute, why am I so stupid? I can use my blink glasses after all. I once used them to accumulate skills learned in the library. At this moment, they're really useful and there's no loss anyway. I have to try. Thinking this, he reached into his bra, took out the glasses. Just about to put them on when the proctor suspected his behavior, came closer, and spoke. Wait, what's with your glasses? I already said if you intend to use glasses, you have to let me check them first. Hand them over so I can inspect. Baek Yuziel was startled and thought, alright, damn it, I forgot about that. He quickly handed the glasses to the proctor. The proctor held the glasses in his hand, carefully examining this side. Baek Yuziel grimaced, sweating profusely, thinking, this is doomed, what should I do? If they discover these are magic glasses, I'll get expelled. He looked up, praying to heaven, hoping to survive this ordeal. Suddenly, the damn system appeared with a notification. A missing part of the blink glasses has been detected. Do you want to summon it? Baek Yuziel was so scared he nearly peed blood. No, stay there, system. The proctor was still using magic to check the glasses. After a moment without finding anything, the teacher handed it back to him and said, I don't see any mana here, but remember to ask first next time. Baek Yuziel was startled, then happily replied, ah, yes, sir. At the same time, he silently rejoiced, thank goodness, if the original function was working, I'd be in big trouble. He immediately put on the glasses, looking a bit more intellectual. Right after that, the answers to each question appeared before his eyes. Based on that, he copied them down, smugly thinking, I've hit the jackpot, who knows, maybe I'll even get first place. With these answers, I'll definitely pass the F level, maybe even reach level A. While he was focused on copying, suddenly the teacher's voice rang out, the test time is over, all students must stop writing and hand in their papers. As soon as he finished speaking, the proctor used magic to collect the students' papers. No one could add another word. Watching the test sheets fly toward the teacher, Baek Yuziel grimaced, thinking, I only managed to answer 3 questions. At that moment, the teacher held the stack of test papers, quickly scanning through them. Suddenly, his eyes widened in astonishment. Meanwhile, Baek Yuziel was still feeling deflated, thinking he had finally escaped the F level. In truth, it was probably a bit too much for him. He reached up and took the glasses off. Suddenly, the teacher noticed something, hurriedly turned to look at him and shouted, hey, you student, give me your glasses right now. Baek Yuziel felt his hair stand on end and stammered, why yes. The teacher took the glasses and thought deeply, strange, it can't be. Then he turned to the boy and said, hey you there, call Dr. Gravan for me right away. The boy replied, yes, sir. Baek Yuziel felt confused inside, what suddenly got into the teacher? I even wrote carefully to avoid any suspicion of cheating but now it's ruined, or maybe I've already been found out. A little later, in the doctor's room, the teacher's anxious voice rose, Doctor, what do you think? The person holding the magnifying glass for inspection was none other than the necromancy professor, Dr. Gravan. He responded, it really is suspicious that the boy answered this question correctly. The teacher hurriedly asked, then is he cheating? The doctor replied, cheating? He's not cheating at all. I don't sense any necroenergy from the magnifying glass or any other item. He is definitely doing it with his own ability. At this moment, Baek Yuziel pretended to limp and put on a wronged expression. The doctor laughed with interest, patted his shoulder and said, this is really interesting, I never expected to encounter this case at the end of my life. Anyway, Professor Lee Hanwol, remember to apologize and guide him a bit more. The teacher answered a bit shyly, yes, sir. The teacher answered a bit shyly, yes, sir. Then he turned to the boy and said, I misunderstood you, please forgive me. Hearing that, Baek Yuziel smiled with his eyes closed, thinking to himself, actually, I did cheat, teacher, but if the original feature activates, I'm done for. Then he replied, yes, it's nothing, teacher. A while later, in Professor Lee Hanwol's office, the teachers were focusing on grading the tests when they came across a certain student's paper. The teacher suddenly held the completed paper in his hand, looking at it for a long time as if he couldn't believe his eyes. Suddenly a voice called out, oh, Professor Lowen, is this the test from the first-year students? Lee Hanwol responded, yes, sir. The woman cheerfully added, I heard that there are many outstanding students this year. This woman is a senior council member of the Stella Academy, Professor Edel Taimen. Lee Hanwal answered, that's right. This year we have quite a few exceptional students. From the most prestigious family in the fire magic world, Princess Bayan of the Fire Nation Adalabit. Then also the heir to the Scalvan Empire, Jeremy Scalvan, who surpassed all his older brothers in the war for the throne at just 12 years old thanks to his magical talent. And coming from the world's grandest magic tower, the Full Moon Tower, the heir of Tower Master He Wunriang also enrolled this year. Hearing this, Professor Edel Taimen was impressed. Oh, I heard that creating exam questions for elite students from famous families is very challenging. This year is sure to be interesting. Professor Lee Hanwal replied, as long as the elder is satisfied, I am happy. As Professor Edel Taimen said, this year's test has a new format. The first 3 questions are very difficult to solve with just ordinary academic ability. They are clever riddles with hidden meanings, testing agility. If unable to solve them, do students quickly move on to the next question? Secondly, how students deal with a problem never before seen in any book. The era of rote learning magic theory has passed, now is the era of practical combat, requiring quick assessment and creative thinking. But that question required no answer. Over 1,000 out of 1,141 students left their papers blank. The remaining 100 students tried to find answers but did not produce a correct one. Among the new students, only 3 answered correctly. Ma Yuxiang, a genius of the century who appeared like a comet but no one knew which clan he came from. Flame, a student introduced to the school by the principal. Though a commoner, her talent was recognized, only slightly behind Ma Yuxiang. And finally, Baek Yuziel, a character with no notable reputation. It's no surprise Ma Yuxiang and Flame were considered geniuses, but Baek Yuziel had a very low entry score. Yet unexpectedly, she solved all 3 difficult questions, especially since she left the rest blank without even attempting them. The professor standing beside saw Lee Hanwal silent and curiously asked, what's wrong? You seem interested in the kid's scores. Lee Hanwal answered confusedly, it's just that I can't explain the scores of some students. She continued, oh, that makes sense. After all, those formulas don't really solve anything. The kids don't know them, but you can still solve the problems. But do you think this child is a genius? Lee Hanwal asked. The elder calmly replied, it might just be luck. With that, she turned her back and walked away, leaving Lee Hanwal dazed. The teacher felt puzzled and sighed deeply, then looked up your admission file. There was a note attached to the file stating a special admission due to a highly rated ability to control blink. At this point, Lee Hanwal had to accept the truth, thinking it's no wonder the principal personally made a special admission. But studying combat magic while specializing in blink? That's really interesting, but we will soon find out whether this is a coincidence or if this child is truly special. After the exam results were out, the school divided students into separate classes based on them. At that moment, everyone eagerly went to see which class they were assigned to. All you could hear were people asking each other, I heard the class assignment results were posted on the bulletin board. I'm so nervous, my mother told me if I don't get into class A, I shouldn't show my face at home. Baek Yuziel trudged behind, feeling discouraged, thinking it's unbelievable that there would be a day he had to check his own class assignment. Before, he could just click once and have the results instantly. Thinking this, he approached the bulletin board. At that moment, a boy in a blue shirt kept staring at him as if he were an alien. Then whispers started right behind him, is that Baek Yuziel? I heard he got 0 points in the practical magic portion of the entrance exam. Really? I can't believe it. How could trash like him get into Stella? I don't even know what Stella's standards are anymore. Baek Yuziel ignored all the gossip around him. What mattered most to him at this moment was which class his name was on. Everything else was of no concern. He walked up to the bulletin board and glanced through it once. Confused, wait, where is my name? He was utterly shocked, thinking, could it be that I failed just because I only answered 3 questions? No way, I'm definitely doomed. While still disappointed, the group of friends continued chatting. How come he's so sure there must be some mistake? It's really strange. Uslek of the Marquis household ranked 29 yet got placed in Class A, even the perfect theoretical score holder ranked 17 was assigned to Class A, so why was he? Hearing people mention his name with hushed tones, Baek Yuziel was curious and puzzled. What's going on? Should I go check it out? After all, I already failed. Thinking this, he decided to approach the crowd to listen in. Suddenly his eyes widened in shock when he saw his own name. Why was his name there? Impossible, could there be some kind of mistake?
Today's video ends here. Comment next if you want the next chapter. Like, share, and subscribe for more recaps. Full video available on the channel.